Hello, and welcome to our radio drama presentation of The Great Mouse Detective. Please note that this is a live performance, and the cast has had no rehearsals together, so there may be occasional stumbles in the dialogue. We're expecting to have a lot of fun, and hope you will too. And now, please enjoy The Great Mouse Detective. London, 1897. A horse-drawn carriage makes its way down a quiet, foggy street. On the corner of a building, next to the bottom of a drain pipe, is a tiny shop with a door only a few inches high. The sign above the illuminated window says Flavershams, and another sign above the door says Toys. Inside are two mice, a middle-aged man, and a young girl who plays with a small rocking horse.
You know, Daddy, this is my very best birthday.
Ah, but I haven't given you your present yet.
What is it? What is it?
Now, close your eyes.
He moves to a small cupboard as the girl tries to sneak a peek between her fingers.
Ah. No peeking.
The girl giggles as her father returns to the table with a small toy that resembles a flower bud. He winds a key on its side and sets it in front of her. As a gentle tune plays, the girl opens her eyes and sees that the bud has turned into a mouse ballerina who dances for her.
Oh, Daddy, you made this just for me?
Outside, a peg-legged figure slowly approaches, cackling as his shadow looms over the door to the toy shop. Inside, the doll has finished her dance, and the girl hugs her father.
You're the most wonderful father in the whole world.
The tender moment is interrupted as the shop's door begins to rattle. The toy maker puts his arms around his daughter protectively as the rattling intensifies.
Who is that?
I don't know. Quickly, dear. Stay behind me and don't come out.
Flaversham hides his daughter in the cupboard and stands in front of it, just as a bat with jagged teeth crashes through the window. The young mouse cracks the door and watches in terror as her father and the invaders struggle. During the fight, a table is thrown towards the cupboard, pinning the door shut.
I got you now, toy maker.
Oh, Olivia!
Olivia pushes against the door and is able to move the table. When she steps out, she sees her father's store in shambles. Broken toys litter the floor, furniture scattered about, paint buckets are spilling their contents everywhere, and there's no sign of the toy maker or the bat.
Daddy? Where are you? Daddy? Where are you? Daddy? Daddy!
Elsewhere in London, a carriage is moving through the streets, carrying a man wearing a bowler hat and spectacles reading a newspaper. On the foot pedestal of the carriage is a mouse in a bowler hat and spectacles reading a newspaper.
It was the eve of our good Queen's Diamond Jamboree, and the year Her Majesty's government almost came to the brink of disaster. I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Dr. David Q. Dawson, most recently of the Queen's 66th Regiment.
The carriage stops, and after his human traveling companion departs, Dawson hops onto the sidewalk. He opens his paper again and looks at several rooms to let listings that he has marked, several of which have already been crossed out.
I had just arrived in London after a lengthy service in Afghanistan and was anxious to find a quiet place.
A drop of rain falls onto the paper. Chuckling, Dawson folds it up and opens his umbrella.
Preferably dry, where I could rest and find a bit of peace. Little did I know, but my life was about to change forever.
As Dawson walks through an alleyway, he pauses as he hears someone crying. He makes his way to an abandoned rain boot and looks inside it.
Oh my.
He sees Olivia sitting on a box of liver pills, quietly sobbing.
Are you all right, my dear?
Olivia turns to Dawson as he pulls a handkerchief from his pocket.
Oh, come now, come here. Dry your eyes.
The younger mouse accepts the handkerchief and blows her nose as Dawson takes a seat beside her.
Ah, yes. Much better. Now, tell me, what's troubling you, my dear?
I'm lost. I'm trying to find Basil of Baker Street.
She hands him a small newspaper clipping.
Now, let me see here. Famous detective solves baffling disappearance. But, where are your mother and father?
That's why I must find Basil.
Oh, there. Now. Well, I don't know any Basil, but I do remember where Baker Street is. Now, come with me. We'll find this Basil chap together.
The pair set off together. When they reach Baker Street, they hear the sound of a violin coming from the upper floor of 221. Below the stoop of the same building, hidden in a bush, is a nice door with the address 221 and a half. Dawson knocks, and a female mouse opens the door, her arms full of books, blankets, pillows, a teacup, and medieval mace.
Good evening, madam. Is this the residence of Basil of Baker Street?
I'm afraid it is. He's not here at the moment, but you're welcome to come in and wait.
Oh, I don't want to impose. It's just the girl.
He gestures towards his side, but Olivia isn't there. Dawson and the woman look inside, where Olivia is already seated by the fireplace, examining a magnifying glass with interest. The housekeeper thrusts her load into Dawson's arms and rushes to Olivia's side.
Oh my, you poor dear. You must be chilled to the bone. Oh, but I know just the thing. Let me fetch you a pot of tea and some of my fresh cheese crumpets.
She rushes to the kitchen and shuts the door. Olivia looks around the room and spots a strange Rube Goldberg machine on a nearby desk, comprised of a tea kettle, pulley system, and a bellows that puffs on several cigarettes and a pipe. On another, 4 different shoes are attached to a device that is being turned in a circular motion, first being brushed with a black paint, and then setting a print on a stack of paper. Dawson is hanging up his coat, but a voice coming from the front door distracts him.
Ha! The villain slipped this time. I shall have him!
The door bursts open to reveal a large mouse with gray fur dressed in Chinese robes. He smiles triumphantly with a gun in his hand as lightning strikes. Dawson is petrified as the mouse bursts inside, rushing towards one of the many tables.
Out of my way! Out of my way!
I say, who are you?
What? Oh.
The large mouse pulls off what turns out to be a rubber mask to reveal a much brown... Interesting grammar choice. To reveal a much smaller brown-haired mouse.
Basil of Baker Street, my good fellow.
Basil smiles at Dawson's confused stare and pulls at a tab on his robe, which lets air escape to reveal his slender form. Olivia smiles and approaches Basil eagerly.
Mr. Basil, I need your help and
Basil is clearly not listening to her as he unpins his house robe from a dartboard, then tosses a dart over his shoulder, scoring a bullseye.
All in good time.
But you don't understand. I'm in terrible trouble.
If you'll excuse me.
Basil walks past Olivia dismissively.
Rude.
Now, see here. This young lady is in need of assistance. I think you ought to...
Will you hold this, please, Doctor?
Basil hands Dawson the gun.
Yes, of course. But...
A moment later, Dawson realizes what he's wielding and holds it at arm's length until Basil retrieves it.
Wait, just a moment. How did you know I was a doctor?
Basil picks up a bullet and places it in the gun.
A surgeon, to be exact. Just returned from military duty in Afghanistan, am I right?
Why? Oh, yes. Major David Q. Dawson. But how could you possibly
Well, quite
know?
simple, really. You've sewn your torn cuff together with the Lambert switch, which, of course, only a surgeon uses, and the thread is a unique form of catgut distinguished by its peculiar pungency, found only in the Afghan provinces.
Basil tosses 3 pillows at Dawson, who holds them against his body, his face mostly covered.
Amazing.
Actually, it's elementary, my dear Dawson.
Wink and finger guns. Basil spins the revolver and aims it at the pillows. Dawson looks around in terror and throws the pillows onto the armchair. As Basil calmly readjusts his aim, Dawson jumps behind the opposite chair, seizing Olivia's arm and bringing her behind it. The gun fires, pillow feathers fly as they cautiously peek out. The housekeeper rushes back out at the stentorian reports.
What in heaven's name? Oh, my good pillows! Mr. Basil! How many times have I told you not to—
There, Mrs. Judson, it's quite all right. Well, I believe I smell some of those delightful cheese crumpets of yours. Why don't you fetch our guests some?
But...
He shoves her towards the kitchen.
Now, I know that bullet's here somewhere.
Olivia has found it and is holding it up for him.
Thank you, Miss...
Flaversham. Olivia Flaversham.
Whatever.
Yes, but you don't understand.
Basil opens a small box and pulls out another bullet and puts both it and the one he just fired under a microscope and compares their markings. He finds a set of lines that match.
Yeah.
He rotates the bullets a bit. They still match.
Yes.
However, as he completes the rotation, the markings go off in separate directions.
No! Drat! Another dead end.
Dejected, Basil tosses the extra bullet aside and slowly walks over to his chair.
He was within my grasp.
He flops into the chair and slowly reaches for the violin sitting beside him. As Basil plays a mournful tune, Dawson nudges Olivia encouragingly, and she walks towards him.
Now will you please listen to me? My daddy's gone and I'm all alone.
Young lady, this is a most inopportune time. Surely your mother knows where he is.
I don't have a mother.
Basil screeches the violin as he abruptly sits up.
Well, well then perhaps... See here, I simply have no time for lost fathers.
I didn't lose him. He was taken by a bat.
Did you say... bat?
Yes?
Did he have a crippled wing?
I don't know, but he had a peg leg.
Ha!
I say, do you know him?
Know him? That bat, one Fidget by name, is in the employ of the very fiend who was the target of my experiment. The horror of my every waking moment. The nefarious Professor Ratigan!
Basil points his bow at a picture on his fireplace mantel of a well-dressed rat with a sinister grin. The flames in the fire burst and lightning strikes.
Ratigan?
He's a genius, Dawson. A genius twisted for evil. The Napoleon of crime.
Bad as all that, eh?
Worse! For years, I've tried to capture him, and I've come close, so very close. But each time he's narrowly evaded my grasp. Not a corner of London's safe, while Ratigan's at large. There's no evil scheme he wouldn't concoct, no depravity he wouldn't commit. Who knows what dastardly scheme that villain may be plotting, even as we speak.
As they speak, in London sewers, an empty barrel which has been repurposed into a prison cell is occupied by a crudely built robot. Its movements are abrupt and the mass of metal and hydraulic pumps wobbles in place, sputtering loudly as it grabs a teapot with its clawed hand. it manages to shakily pour the tea into a cup. Flaversham sits at a nearby podium, controlling its movements with a gloomy expression. He is distracted when smoke is blown into his face by Ratigan.
Quite an ingenious scheme, eh, Flaversham? And aren't you proud to be a part of it?
This whole thing it's monstrous.
He continues working at the controls, getting the robot to pour a spoonful of sugar into the teacup and stir.
We will have our device ready by tomorrow evening, won't we? You know what will happen if you fail.
Ratigan brandishes a small gold bell.
I don't care.
He pulls hard on the controls, making the robot dump the cup of tea on its own head. The robot seizes the teapot and pours that onto its head as well, then hurls it towards Ratigan, who dodges just in time. The robot flails around for a moment and finally stops, but not before squirting oil out, which lands on Ratigan's coat. The rat scowls at the stain and wipes it off with a handkerchief.
You can do what you want with me. I won't be a part of this evil any longer.
Very well, if that is your decision. Oh, by the way, I'm taking the liberty of having your daughter brought here.
He picks up Olivia's ballerina doll and winds it up.
Oh, Olivia?
Yes, yes.
Ratigan sets the doll down and watches it dance.
I would spend many a sleepless night if anything unfortunate were to befall her.
You wouldn't.
Ratigan picks up the doll again and squeezes it until its head springs off. He gazes at the broken doll in mock sorrow, then lunges threateningly at the toy maker.
Finish it, Flaversham!
With a heavy heart, Flaversham returns to the control podium as Ratigan steps out of the prison cell and hums to himself as he writes a list.
Oh, I love it when I'm nasty.
He looks above the doorway of a keg several times larger than the barrel prison, where Fidget is hanging from the tap, sleeping.
Fidget!
When the bat doesn't awaken, Ratigan screams in his ear.
Fidget!
Ah!
The bat falls from his perch.
Bright and alert as always. Here's the list. You know what to do, and no mistakes.
No mistakes, sir. Tools, gears, girl, uniforms.
Now, Fidget!
I'm going.
He rushes over to a drain grate and slips inside it. Ratigan makes his way into the keg, which is lavishly decorated with a red carpet, drapes, candelabras, a fountain, massive harp, and a mountain of gems. A group of mice cheer the professor as he walks in and approaches a throne at the far side of the room. When he sits down and holds out his cigarette, several hands quickly offer lit matches. He lights his cigarette, takes a puff, and blows out several smoke rings.
My friends, we are about to embark on the most odious, the most evil, the most diabolical scheme in my illustrious career. A crime to top all crimes, a crime that will live in infamy.
Most of his men cheer and hold up drinks,
Woo!
save one mouse, whose attention is focused on his already empty mug. Ratigan holds up a newspaper featuring the Queen's picture on the front page.
Tomorrow evening, our beloved monarch celebrates her Diamond Jubilee. And with the enthusiastic help of our good friend Mr. Flaversham, it promises to be a night she will never forget.
He burns her picture with his cigarette.
Her last night, and my first, as supreme ruler of all Mousedom.
Yeah!
As his men cheer for him, he saunters down the red carpet as a spotlight shines on him. One of his men hands him his top hat, which he rolls down his arms before putting it on. He gives an evil laugh and begins to sing.
From the brain that brought you the Big Ben caper, the head that made headlines in every newspaper, and wondrous things like the Tower Bridge job, that cunning display that made Londoners sob. Now comes the real to the force, tricky and wicked, of course. My earlier crimes were fine for their times, but now that I'm at it again, an even grimmer plot has been simmering in my great criminal brain.
Even meaner, you mean it. Worse than the widows and orphans you drowned. You're the best of the worst around, oh Ratigan! Oh Ratigan! Your last fall behind. To Ratigan! To Ratigan! The world's greatest criminal mind!
Ah, thank you. Thank you. But it hasn't all been champagne and caviar. I've had my share of adversity, thanks to that miserable second-rate detective Basil of Baker Street.
Boo!
For years, that insufferable pipsqueak has interfered with my plans, and I haven't had a moment's peace of mind. But all that's in the past. This time, nothing, not even Basil, can stand in my way. All will bow before me.
Oh Ratigan! Ratigan! Oh Ratigan! Your tops, and that's that! To Ratigan! To Ratigan!
To Ratigan, the world's greatest
Ratigan spits out his wine in shock and lets his glass break. His thugs gasp in terror as Ratigan spins, towering over the drunken mouse who spoke.
What was that? What did you call me?
Oh, he didn't mean it, Professor.
It was just a slip of the tongue.
I am not a rat.
Of course you're not a rat, you're a mouse, but to be fair, we did kind of set him up with that rhyme there. That wasn't really good of us.
I mean, we did, but he's a mouse, big mouse.
Yeah. A real big mouse.
Silence!
Ratigan throws the offending mouse outside.
Oh, my dear Bartholomew, I'm afraid that you've gone and upset me. You know what happens when someone upsets me.
Ratigan pulls out the golden bell from his vest pocket and rings it. His men gasp in terror as they look to the alleyway, where a massive shadow approaches. An enormously fat cat lumbers up behind the obviously drunk Bartholomew.
Ratigan. Ratigan. You're the tops and dusted. To Ratigan. To Ratigan.
The cat picks up Bartholomew and dangles him over its open jaws. The other thugs cower in the doorway as Ratigan enjoys his cigarettes.
To Ratigan, the world's greatest.
A gulping noise is heard, followed by a meow. Two of the thugs remove their hats, and the third wipes a tear from his eye. Ratigan hugs his cat and wipes her mouth with his handkerchief.
Oh, Felicia, my precious, my baby. Did Daddy's little honey bun enjoy her tasty treat?
Felicia burps.
I trust there will be no further interruptions. And now, as you singing,
He holds out the bell.
Even louder! Shout it! No one can doubt what we know you can do. You're more evil than even you. Oh, Ratigan! Oh, Ratigan! You're one of a kind. To Ratigan! To Ratigan! The world's greatest criminal mind!
They toast their leader as lightning strikes outside. Back in Basil's flat, the detective paces around as he smokes from a large pipe.
This case is most intriguing with its multiplicity of elements, its many twists and turns. Now, you're certain you've told me everything. The slightest detail may be important.
It's just as I said. And then my father was gone.
Make of it.
Ratigan's up to something. A crime of the most sinister nature, no doubt. The question is, what would he want with a toy maker?
Lightning strikes again, and Olivia spots Fidget in the window.
Ah!
Quickly, Dawson! We've not a moment to lose!
Find you, Basil.
They rush outside, but Fidget is already gone. Basil looks around and kneels down to look at the sidewalk where Fidget has left behind his muddy footprints.
No sign of the blackguard anywhere.
Not quite, Dawson. He left some rather unusual footprints. They obviously belong to the same fiend who abducted the girl's father. Ratigan's peg-legged lackey.
Dawson discovers Fidget's hat on the ground.
Basil?
Aha! Excellent work, old man.
Mrs. Judson stands in the doorway, comforting Olivia.
Now there's nothing to be afraid of, my dear.
An excited Basil rushes inside, followed by Dawson.
Scoundrel's quite gone.
But not for long, Miss Flamhammer.
Flaversham.
Whatever. Now, will we simply pursue our peg-legged friend until he leads us to the girl's father?
Then you'll get my daddy back?
Yes, and quite soon, if I'm not mistaken. Now, hurry along, Dawson. We must be off to Toby's.
Toby?
Oh, you must meet him. He's just the chap for this.
Basil dons an Inverness cape and deerstalker cap.
You want me to come?
I should think a stout-hearted army mouse like you would leap at the chance for adventure.
Well, I am rather curious.
Wait for me. I'm coming too.
As Olivia rushes to join them, she knocks Basil's violin off his chair, but Basil dives and catches it.
What? Certainly not. This is no business for children.
He sets the violin back on the chair.
Are we going to take a cab?
Oh, my dear, I don't think you understand. It will be quite dangerous.
Basil sits on his chair and a loud crunch is heard. He grunts bitterly and pulls the ruined violin out from under him.
Why, you... Look at... Young lady, you are most definitely not accompanying us, and that is final!
A few minutes later, after coming to grips with the consequences of his own actions, Basil opens a small piece of the wall molding in the upstairs flat. Olivia is beside him.
And not a word out of you, is that clear?
Olivia shushes him as two shadows approach. One with a stout build and a bowler hat. The other is slim, holding a pipe and wearing a deerstalker. Basil quickly closes the door to his wall passage, leaving a small crack open.
I observe there's a good deal of German music on the program. It is introspective, and I want to introspect.
But Holmes, that music is so frightfully dull.
Come along.
Ugh.
The two men exit the flat, leaving Basil, Olivia, and Dawson free to wander out in the open.
Toby? Toby!
Olivia tugs on Dawson's coat and whispers to him.
Who's Toby?
Well, my dear, Toby is, well, he's, I say, Basil, who's this Toby chap?
Before Basil can answer, thundering footsteps approach.
Ha ha! Here he is now.
Towering over them is an adorable basset hound puppy, who is obviously very happy to see Basil.
Dawson? Toby?
Oh, charmed, I'm sure.
Dawson nervously tips his hat and pats Toby's nose. The dog growls at the mouse.
Now, Toby. Toby, stop that! Toby, cease! Desist! Frightfully sorry, old man. Toby has the most splendid sense of smell of any hound I've trained. But he can be deucedly frisky.
Toby sniffs about the room, stopping at a footrest. Olivia cautiously peers out from behind its tasseled fringe and smiles at Toby.
Hello, Toby.
She pats his nose. He seems to like her just fine.
Silly doggy. Would you like a crumpet?
Toby nods happily as Olivia reaches into her coat pocket. She holds one of Mrs. Judson's cheese crumpets up for him, and he licks it out of her hand.
Here now, Toby. Toby, to the matter at hand. I want you to...
He turns, but Toby isn't listening to him, as the dog is on his back enjoying a belly rub from Olivia. Basil whistles. Olivia slides off Toby into Dawson's arms, while Toby rolls back to his feet, facing Basil.
Good. Now, Toby. Toby, I want you to find this fiend.
He holds out Fidget's hat, and Toby starts to growl.
Yes, you know his type. A villain, a scoundrel, lowbrow, close-set eyes, broken wing.
Toby pauses and looks at Basil, confused at the last piece of the description.
He's a peg-legged bat with a broken wing.
Toby starts growling again.
Yes, that's the spirit. Got his scent? Good boy, good boy!
Toby nods happily, and Basil retrieves his leash, but when he turns to face Toby again, the dog is turned around, smiling at Olivia and Dawson.
Miss Flamchester!
Flaversham.
Whatever. Your father is as good as found.
He hooks on Toby's leash.
Toby, sick 'em!
As Toby rushes out, he accidentally stomps on his master, but the dazed detective manages to hold on to the leash.
Aha! Yoinks! Tally-ho!
The three mice ride on Toby's back as he sniffs around the street. Toby gives a sudden howl and breaks into a run.
The thrill of a hunt, eh, Dawson?
Dawson clings desperately to Toby's tail.
Qu-
Our peg-legged quarry can't be far now.
Inside a human toy shop, Fidget removes the uniforms from every Royal British Guard figure in the shop and stuffs the garments into a sack before crossing uniforms off his list.
Get the following. Tools? Check. I got tools. Gears? Double check. I got gears. Girl? Yeah. No, dang it, girl. Uniforms. I got plenty of uniforms.
Outside the shop, Toby howls.
Oh no. Gotta hide. Oh, I gotta hide.
Fidget puts the last few hats from the soldiers into his bag and hides on a high shelf, but drops his list. Back outside, Basil has jumped off Toby and onto the window ledge.
Splendid job, Toby.
Olivia stands on Toby's nose and holds out her arms towards Basil, who gives her a look of annoyance but holds his arms out to her. She jumps and he catches her, then sets her down and nudges her away. As Dawson prepares to hop over, Toby growls at him again and deliberately huffs, sending him flying into Basil.
Now, Toby, sit.
Toby smiles at Basil, but remains standing.
Toby, sit.
Sit, Toby.
Toby promptly sits.
Good boy. If you'll excuse me.
You be good now. We're going to find my father.
Basil hums to himself as he inspects the window, and his humming slows as he sees a tiny hole in the center of a small round segment.
Aha! Here is our fiend's entrance.
But Basil, how could he possibly fit through such a tiny...
Observe, Doctor.
Basil grabs Dawson's hand and sticks one of his fingers into the hole. He watches confidently as Dawson pulls his hand back, pulling the glass segment with it.
Basil, you astound me.
Shh.
The three climb through the window and quietly enter the shop. Dawson doesn't look where he's going and bumps into something.
I beg your pardon,
He looks up and realizes what he hit was the leg of a huge doll, or at least huge by mouse standards.
Oh my, upon my word, I've never seen so many horrifying toys.
Behind any of which could lurk a bloodthirsty assassin. So please, Doctor, be very careful.
As Basil stealthily moves between the toys and through the shadows, Olivia and Dawson stay close behind. They start to climb up a ladder, leading them to a higher shelf. Basil and Dawson quietly creep along when a sudden cacophony causes Dawson to leap into Basil's arms. They look behind them and see that Olivia has turned on a marching band music box.
Oh, what the Oh!
Basil shoves the heavy Dawson off of him and leaps for the control lever, shutting the toy off. He then turns to Olivia.
Please, quiet. Dawson, don't let this girl out of your sight. Dawson salute. Wait, now hold on just a minute.
I'll take it from here, thank you. Dawson salutes as Basil walks past. He looks to Olivia, who is giving a playful salute of her own, and takes her hand.
Who wrote this thing?
Now, Olivia dear, stay close.
Fidget watches the trio from above as they move across a chessboard. Basil pauses by the rock.
The Rook, thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize Dwayne Johnson was not in this movie. Carry on. He pushes the rook over one space.
Checkmate.
He pulls out his magnifying glass as he spots Fidget's foot and peg prints.
Aha! Evidence of our peg-legged adversary.
He follows the footprints to the platoon of naked toy soldiers.
How very odd.
What?
Well, isn't it plainly obvious, Doctor? These dolls have been stripped of their uniforms, and not by any child either. Ah, hello.
He moves over to another set of toys with empty torsos.
Someone has taken the liberty of removing the clockwork mechanisms from these toys.
Above them, Fidget's eyes widen as he sees the team discovering his handiwork and darts away. Meanwhile, Dawson has found the list.
Basil?
Not now, Doctor. I'm trying to concentrate.
But Basil,
Suddenly, music boxes are playing and wind-up toys are moving along the shelves. A puppy pokes its head out of a hat and barks. A bunny is moving an eggshell up and down as a baby chick chirps inside as it rolls by a fiddle player on a carousel. Nearly every toy in the shop is operating on its own. Bubbles begin floating near Olivia, who follows them, separating herself from Dawson and Basil. A small Dumbo toy is the source of the bubbles, and there is a mouse-sized baby carriage that is slowly rocking back and forth. Olivia approaches it and pulls the blanket back to reveal Fidget. Across the shop, Basil and Dawson hear a terrified scream.
Olivia!
Gotcha.
Fidget tosses Olivia into his bag as Basil rushes ahead of Dawson in pursuit.
Quickly, Doctor! Ha ha! Ha! Look out!
Basil quickly changes direction as a large Ferris wheel toy rolls towards them. They dodge it, only to narrowly avoid being crushed by the large doll from earlier. A piece of its porcelain face lands near Dawson, and its eye blinking at him. Basil rushes by as Fidget winds up a toy jouster, which moves towards them with an outstretched spear. Basil is able to leap out of the way. The jousting spear catches Dawson by his jacket and pins him to a dartboard. Basil looks at the doctor for a moment, and he is hurled towards a dartboard, pinned to it. Basil looks behind him and his head is crashed between the cymbals of the band music box, which has started up again as well. Basil stumbles over a pile of marbles, sending several flying towards Dawson, one hitting him in the head as Fidget makes his way to the window.
Bye-bye.
He opens the window again and is greeted by a growling Toby. Fidget slams the window shut and climbs up the cash register back onto the shelves, while Basil jumps onto a spring horse and uses it to jump from shelf to shelf.
Stop, you fiend!
Here we go. Basil reaches the top shelf and falls off the horse at the base of a large pyramid of building blocks just below an open roof window. Basil and Fidget scale the mountain on opposite sides, but Fidget reaches the top first and grabs the ledge of the window. Basil tries to leap for him, but as he does, the blocks tumble and fall, taking Basil down with them.
Help! Mr. Basil! Help! Help!
It's Basil!
Touché. Fidget jumps out the window with the bag and hops from roof to roof towards Ratigan's lair.
I got the gears, I got the tools, I got the uniforms, I got the girl.
Inside, Dawson has managed to free himself and runs toward the toppled pile of blocks.
Basil! Basil!
He hears the sound of a doll repeatedly saying, "Mama," as he pushes aside some toys to find Basil tangled in a doll's pull string.
Basil! Olivia! She's
gone, Dawson. Confound it. I told you to watch over the girl.
He manages to untie the string and falls to the ground.
Now she's been spirited away by that maniacal little monster, soon to be in the clutches of the most depraved mind in all of London. I should have known better than to...
He stops mid-rant and sees Dawson with his back turned and his head hung sadly.
Than to... Dawson? Dawson? I say, Dawson, old chap.
But... Oh, girl. I should have watched her more closely.
Don't worry, old fellow. It's not entirely hopeless.
Dawson says nothing.
We'll get her back.
Do you think there's a chance?
There's always a chance, Doctor. As long as one can think.
Basil begins to pace around the room, and Dawson sighs, putting his hands in his pockets. A puzzled expression crosses his face as he pulls out the list, reading from it.
Get the following. Tools, gears,
What?
girl,
Get the following.
unit.
Dawson, you've done it! This list is precisely what we need.
What?
Quickly, back to Baker Street.
Over at Ratigan's lair, Flaversham works on the robot from before, but now it has eyes, a mechanical mouth, and a metal frame hoop skirt. He tenses as Ratigan enters the workroom.
Ah, Mr. Flaversham, allow me to present your charming daughter.
Ratigan reveals Olivia in Fidget's grasp.
Olivia!
Father!
Olivia stomps on Fidget's foot and runs to her father.
Ow, ow, my foot, my only foot!
Oh, Father, I thought I'd never find you.
Oh, there, my little Bon. It's all right. Oh, I was so worried about my little girl.
Oh, how sweet. Oh, I just love tearful reunions.
Ratigan grabs the young girl back.
Now come along, my dear.
Oh, please, please, Father!
Flaversham is being restrained by Ratigan and tries to plead with the nefarious rat.
Olivia! Oh, please, Professor.
Now, Fidget will take good care of her. That is, as long as we have no further delays.
Yes, yes, I'll finish it. Just don't hurt my daughter.
Remember, it must be ready tonight!
Ratigan slams the door, and Fidget shoves Olivia into a bottle outside the keg hideout, corking it to seal her inside.
Let me go! Let me go, you ugly old thing!
That ought to hold ya.
Help! Let me out! Let me out!
Let's see how you like that.
While he taunts Olivia, Ratigan inspects Fidget's bag.
Ah, the uniforms. Oh, Fidget, I knew I could rely on you. Now, you didn't forget anything?
No problems. I took care of everything. Everything on the list.
As he opens his wing to display the list, he realizes it's missing.
Oh.
What's wrong?
The list. I know.
Where's the list?
The list. Yeah. Well, you see, it was like this. I was in the toy store getting the uniforms, and I heard, oh, oh, oh.
You're not coming through.
Okay. I ran. I had baby bonnet, girl in bag, and Basil chased me.
What? Basil on the case? Why, you gibbering little...
Fidget cowers as Ratigan clutches his chest, and face turns red with fury. But just as quickly as his temper rose, Ratigan calms down, and he scoops Fidget into his arms.
Oh, my dear Fidget. You have been hanging upside down too long.
You mean you're not mad? I'm glad you're taking it so well.
Ratigan carries Fidget behind the keg. There is silence, followed by the sound of a bell.
Not me, you idiot! No, stop! You stupid furball!
Felicia shoves Fidget into her mouth and swallows him whole.
Open up! You're hurting my wings!
Ratigan stands nearby, rubbing his temples.
How dare that idiot Basil poke his stupid nose into my wonderful scheme and foul up everything?
Let me out! Let me out!
Fidget manages to climb out of Felicia's mouth, only to have her stuff him back inside.
Oh, I can just see that insufferable grin on his smug face. Yes, I can just see it. Felicia, release him.
Felicia pouts for a moment, then spits the mangled bat out.
Fidget, you delightful little maniac. You've presented me with a singular opportunity. Poor Basil. Oh, he is in for a little surprise.
Dun, dun, dun. We will now have a 10-minute intermission. Welcome back. We now return you to the radio drama presentation of The Great Mouse Detective. Back at Basil's flat, the detective has lit a lamp and is studying the list with his magnifying glass, Dawson at his side.
Offhand, I can deduce very little. Only that the words are written with a broad-pointed quill pen, which has spattered twice, that the paper is of...
He tosses it in his hand, testing its weight.
native Mongolian manufacture, no watermark, and has...
He puts the paper to his lips and smacks it several times.
been gummed, if I'm not very much in error.
He sniffs the paper, then holds it at arm's length.
Oh, by a bat who has been drinking Rodent's Delight, a cheap brandy sold only in the seediest of pubs.
Amazing.
Oh, not really, Doctor. We still don't know, bless you, we still don't know where it came from.
Thank you. He pulls out his microscope.
Perhaps a close inspection will tell us something. Oh, Mm-hmm. Coal dust. Clearly of the type used in sewer lamps.
Dawson tries to look through the microscope, but Basil takes the list and holds it over a small flame, letting it catch fire.
But Basil,
Shh. I'm in my mind palace. Don't speak.
Basil lets the ashen remains of the list fall into a bowl, and he pats it down with a small wooden masher. He pours the contents onto a glass jar of a yellow chemical, which turns blue. Dawson stares at the liquid with his bifocals, while Basil returns with a vial of a red chemical.
Excuse me, Dawson. Steady hand.
Basil lets a single drop fall. A small puff of smoke comes out as the chemical turns violet. He then sets the jar below a glass spout and reaches to the other side of the chemistry set to turn on a small flame. A green chemical inside bubbles up and slowly makes its way through a tube toward the glass jar.
Yes, good. Come along. Yes! Good. No, bad. Oh, good. Oh, no. Come along. Come on. Yes, come on, yes.
A single green droplet falls into the jar, making the chemical turn red.
Aha! We've done it, old fellow! This reaction could only have been triggered by the paper's extreme saturation with distillation of sodium chloride.
Cold water? Great Scott!
Basil pulls out a map of London.
It proves beyond a doubt this list came from the riverfront area.
Now, steady on there, Basil.
No. Elementary, my dear Dawson. We merely look for a seedy pub at the only spot where the sewer connects to the waterfront.
Later that night, Toby sits on the pier, looking down as Basil whispers to him.
Stay, Toby, stay.
Basil, disguised as a sailor with a fake mustache, approaches the front door of a pub called the Rat Trap.
Basil?
Come, Dawson.
I feel utterly ridiculous.
Don't be absurd, you look perfect.
Dawson is in a pirate disguise, with a bandana, an earring, an eye patch, and an undersized striped shirt that he tries and fails to tuck into his pants.
Perfect? I feel perfectly foolish, like Shmee, but with worse eyeliner. Ugh.
Shh.
Basil shushes Dawson and opens the pub door. It certainly is seedy, a regular hive of scum and villainy where every lowlife in London has gathered. The mice are all smoking, playing poker, or drinking at the bar. A mouse plays a ragtime music on a piano, while an octopus juggles and dances on a stage at the front of the venue. The barmaid tickles a patron under his chin, but when he puckers his lips up for a kiss, she punches him so hard he flies from his chair.
Dawson, stay close and do as I do.
The bartender looks to Basil and Dawson as they approach. Basil signals him for service as he walks to a table, and Dawson copies his movements, though his seem to be a little more exaggerated. The bar patrons eye them suspiciously, and one of them throws a knife at the floor in Dawson's path. He stumbles back, knocking a woman's chair forward.
I beg your pardon, madam. Quite unintentional, I assure you.
She blows smoke in his face, and everyone laughs as Dawson coughs.
How impertinent.
Remember, Dawson, we're low-life ruffians.
Well, I was until that hussy.
Shh.
As they sit at the table, the octopus on stage finishes its dance. Dawson claps as everyone else in the pub loudly boos.
Boo! Get off your eight-legged bum! Boo!
The octopus quite literally runs for his life off stage as food, knives, bottles, and darts are thrown towards him. The barmaid comes up to Basil and Dawson's table.
What's your pleasure, mates?
I think I'll have a dry sherry with perhaps a twist of lemon and lime.
Basil
And
clamps his hand over Dawson's mouth.
2 points for me and my shipmate. Oh, by the way, we just got into port. We're looking for an old friend of mine. Maybe you know him. Goes by the name of Ratigan.
At the mention of Ratigan, the barmaid gasps, as well as several poker players and the pianist, all staring at Basil in shock.
I never heard of him.
Dawson glances around nervously, but Basil appears pleased with the reaction. Meanwhile, the pianist has started another song, and the curtains open to reveal a salamander on a unicycle, exhausted from the effort of holding a huge frog on his shoulders. The patrons immediately resume booing and throwing food and weapons on stage. As a knife strikes the piano, rude, the pianist nervously begins the third act. The patrons are already armed with chairs, darts, and one with an axe, how'd you get that in here, ready to throw them at whoever is next. When the curtains open, a pretty lady mouse stands on stage, wearing a blue tank top, purple skirt, and pink shawl. The patrons slowly lower their weapons as she begins to sing.
Dearest friends, dear gentlemen, listen to my song. Life down here's been hard for you. Life has made you strong. Let me lift the mood with my attitude. Hey fellas, the time is right. Get ready. Tonight's the night. Boys, what you're hoping for will come true. Let me be good to you. You tough guys, you're feeling all alone. You rough guys, the best of you sailors and bums, all of my chums. So dream on and drink your beer, get cozy, your baby's here. You won't be misunderstood. Let me be good to you.
She moves behind the curtain as the band joins in. When the curtains pull back, she's joined by twin female mice in pink hats, dresses, and black elbow-length gloves.
Hey fellas, I'll take off all my blues. Hey fellas, there's nothing I won't do just for you.
The singer puts on black gloves, removes her shawl, and rips off her skirt, revealing her garter and feather boa around her waist. The patrons whistle, and one is restrained as he tries to climb on stage, then kicked down by the songstress. She then points to Dawson, who seems smitten. She walks off stage, leaving the other lady mice on stage to dance for the pub. The barmaid has returned to Basil and Dawson's table and hands them their drinks.
There you are, boys. It's, on the house. I'm real subtle.
Oh, I say, how very generous.
Basil swirls his finger in the beer and takes a small taste.
Dawson, these drinks have been...
Unfortunately, Dawson has already drained his beer.
drugged.
I say, rather nice bite to it. Jolly good, ladies, jolly good.
Dawson, get a hold of yourself.
Bravo, Basil, you're strong. Oh.
Basil is irritated until he hears the sound of a peg-legged figure approaching. Fidget's attention is focused on the showgirls as well, so he doesn't notice that Basil has seen him. His peg leg gets caught in a hole in the floorboard. He falls and angrily yanks out his foot, sending himself stumbling back into the bar as the singer has returned to the stage.
If it isn't our peg-legged fiend. Dawson, oh, what luck!
Unfortunately, Dawson is gone.
Dawson?
He looks towards the stage and discovers his friend has joined the dancing mice.
Dawson!
So dream on and drink your beer and get cozy. Your baby's here. Hey boys, I'm talking to you. Your baby's gonna come through. Let me be good to you. Yeah!
As the song ends, the twins each give Dawson a kiss on the cheek. He giggles, then drunkenly twirls off stage and onto the piano. The pianist angrily swings a plank at Dawson's head, but Dawson slumps down just in time, and the pianist hits a big, mean-looking mouse who stands up, grabs him by the neck, and raises his fist. The pianist ducks the punch and hits the piano instead. The piano crashes into the band members, and the pub quickly descends into an all-out bar brawl. Basil grabs Dawson and lightly slaps his cheek to wake him up.
Dawson? Dawson!
What in heaven's name's going on?
I've spotted our peg-legged...
He looks to the bar, but Fidget is gone.
Oh, come on, old fella. There's not a moment to lose.
Basil sees a trapdoor behind the bar, and he and Dawson climb down it as the bar fight rages. Down below, Basil sees Fidget climb into a drain pipe, singing to himself.
Let me be good to you. Ba-ba-boom. So dream on and drink your beer. Her baby's here.
Bill.
Shh.
So,
Shh. Follow me.
The duo climbs into the dark pipe.
God, I can't see a thing. Basil, what is your hand doing?
Don't worry about it. Now grab my coat and follow along. No, not that way. No, Dawson, your other hand. Dawson, look out for your...
Oh.
Do you have...
No, do you have any idea where we're going?
But of course. Left turn. Right turn here.
Is
Doctor...
this your first time?
Yabe. Eventually, they lift a grate and see a giant keg with an R emblazoned on the side.
Aha! Dawson! Dawson, put your clothes back on. We found it! Ratigan's secret lair! And it's filthier than I imagined.
They slowly creep over to the entrance and notice Olivia curled up in the bottle with her back to them.
Dawson, the bottle!
They run to the barrel and Basil attempts to pull out the cork while Dawson knocks on the glass prison.
It's stuck! Olivia?
Fidget, dressed in Olivia's clothing, turns to them with a sinister smile as he makes a kissy face.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Happy birthday! Oh wait, that's not right. That's next week.
Next
A large banner that reads, "Welcome Basil," unfurls from the ceiling. Balloons are released, and confetti flies as Ratigan's thugs clap and cheer mockingly. Ratigan himself stands in the doorway of his hideout, applauding.
Bravo, bravo, a marvelous performance. Though, frankly, I expected you 15 minutes earlier. Trouble with the chemistry set, old boy. Or is it perhaps the new boy over there?
Ratigan. No one can have a higher opinion of you than I have. And I think you're a slimy, contemptible sewer rat.
By the way, Basil, I just love your disguise. Really, one would hardly recognize you. The greatest detective in all Mousedom!
Ratigan, so help me, I'll see you behind bars yet.
You fool! Isn't it clear to you? The superior mind has triumphed! I've won!
Fidget and
I
the
love
rest
it,
of
I love it.
Ratigan's thugs join in. Basil steels himself against the jeering, but after a few moments, slumps, defeated
Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it!
That
Oh, I
last
love it,
ha-ha
Lord
really
Rusty.
got me.
Ratigan's thugs tie Basil and Dawson to a mousetrap and prime it.
You don't know what a delightful dilemma it was trying to decide on the most appropriate method for your demise. Oh, I had so many ingenious ideas, I didn't know which to choose. So I decided to use them all.
A gun, crossbow, axe, and anvil surround the mousetrap, all respectively prepared to blast, skewer, slice, and crush their target.
Marvelous, isn't it? Oh, but here, let me show you how it works. Picture this.
Fidget stands beside a record player, his hand on the needle arm, which has a rope attached to it.
First, a tune I've recorded especially for you. As the song plays, the cord tightens, and when the song ends, the metal ball is released.
A slide sits below the ball, aimed at the mousetrap's trigger.
Rolling along its merry way until snap, boom, twang, thunk, splat. And so ends the short, undistinguished career of Basil of Baker Street.
You're despicable.
Yes. Everything's ready, Fidget.
All set, boss.
Thugs dressed in stolen guard uniforms stand next to Flaversham in a large white box with a ribbon. The real Olivia is also nearby, now back in the bottle prison. Ratigan opens the box's lid slightly and peeks inside.
Oh, this is wicked. So delightfully wicked. Mr. Flaversham, let me congratulate you on a superb piece of craftsmanship. See what you can do with the proper motivation. You all know the plan.
Right, Professor.
The thugs all climb on Felicia's back, and the cat carries them away.
It was my fond hope to stay and witness your final scene, but you were 15 minutes late. And I do have an important engagement at, Buckingham Palace. Now, you will remember to smile for the camera, won't you?
A camera is indeed set up, ready to shoot.
Say cheese.
You fiend!
Sorry, Chubby. You should have chosen your friends more carefully.
Ratigan starts the record and jumps onto an airship that has the gift box attached by a rope. The ship flies away, its propeller powered by Fidget, who operates a squeaky bike pedal mechanism.
Adieu. Auf Wiedersehen. Arrivederci. Farewell. Bye-bye, Basil.
As Ratigan and his lackeys fly out of the sewer, the squeaking noise fading into the distance, the record plays a song recorded by the mastermind himself.
Goodbye, so soon, and isn't this a crime? We know by now that time knows how to fly. So here's goodbye, so soon, you'll find your separate way. With time so short, I'll say so long and go so soon. Goodbye. You followed me, I followed you. We were like each other's shadows for a while. Now, as you see, this game is through. So, although it hurts, I'll try to smile as I say goodbye so soon.
The
And
record continues to play
isn't
on
this a crime?
as Olivia stares out of her glass prison and at Basil and Dawson. Basil is still broken, but Dawson is in disbelief.
What did he mean an engagement at Buckingham Palace?
Oh, haven't you figured it out yet, Doctor? The Queen's in danger and the Empire's doomed.
The Queen?
Outside Buckingham Palace, trumpets play Rule Britannia. At the same time, well-dressed mice enter the grounds through a small hole in the garden wall. Inside her bedroom, the Mouse Queen prepares in her room, unaware that just outside her doors, her guards have been ambushed and replaced by Ratigan's thugs.
Over here, come on, over here.
Come in.
Begging your pardon, begging your majesty's pardon, a present has arrived in honor of your jubilee.
2 thugs and Fidget, all in uniforms, enter the room with the large package.
A present. I don't know why I'm suddenly Southern. This is not a Southern film. I'm gonna stick with it though. Oh, how wonderful. I just adore jubilees.
Fidget hands her a note from the package.
Here you are, sweetheart.
Have you been with us long? Oh, bloody hell, give me a moment. I can't. To our
I say, stick with it. Stick with it. Come on now.
To our beloved queen, this gift we send as her 60-year reign comes to an end.
As our film set in Britain has suddenly turned into a Western, Fidget and the other thugs open the box to reveal an exact replica of the Queen. She studies it with fascination.
How extraordinary.
Suddenly, the duplicate sputters to life. A robot! It starts pursuing the Queen around the room, trailing a cord behind it.
Oh my, goodness gracious.
The robot suddenly halts as Ratigan appears at her doorway, with Flaversham operating the controls.
Amazing likeness, isn't it, Your Majesty?
Ain't it Flaversham? Professor Ratigan! Gods, seize this despicable creature!
Guards, seize this despicable creature.
Ha, 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 ha.
What she said.
Ratigan laughs into the speaker, giving the robot queen his same cruel laugh. The thugs
How
grab.
dare you? I'm sorry.
The thugs grab the true queen.
Take
How
her
dare
away.
you.
He rings Felicia's bell as the queen is escorted out.
Let go of me, you ruffians!
Move along, honey.
You fiends! Traitors!
Back at Ratigan's lair, the record is still playing, but Basil has still made no attempt to escape. Olivia pushes at the bottle cork to no avail.
Is through, so although it hurts, I'll try to smile as I say goodbye so soon. And isn't this a crime?
Basil?
Oh.
Basil!
Oh. How could I have been so blind?
We all make mistakes, but we can't let that stop us. We have to move.
Ratigan's proved he's more clever than I. Oh, he would never have walked into such an obvious trap.
Oh, pull yourself together. You can stop that broken down old queen if you need to. Why?
So long.
Basil, the record.
Oh, it's finally happened. I've been outwitted.
Basil, please.
Beaten, duped, made a fool of, ridiculed, belittled.
That is quite enough.
The record stops skipping and the song continues.
Oh, dash it, old Basil! The Queen's in danger. Olivia's counting on us, and we're about to be horribly splattered. And all you can do is lie there feeling sorry for yourself. We've all been through breakups. It's fine. Besides, he's not even that cute. Well, I know that you can save us, but if you've given up, then why don't we just set it all off now and be done with it?
We know by now that time knows how to fly.
Set it off now. Set it off now. Yeah. Yes, we'll set the trap off now.
Basil, wait, I didn't mean, I thought we would, well, no.
And go so soon, goodbye.
The record ends, and the ball begins rolling down the track.
The angle of the trajectory multiplied by the square root of an isosceles triangle, and dividing Guttman's principle of opposing forces of motion and adjusting for the difference in equilibrium. Dawson, at the exact moment I tell you, we must release the triggering mechanism. Get ready, Dawson. Steady. Wait for it.
Did not
Almost
expect it,
there. Now!
Shouty bit!
They hit the trigger, and the metal switch is blocked by the ball, stopped just above their heads. The vibration from the impact loosens a peg on the side of the trap, which ricochets towards the gun, causing it to misfire and hit the crossbow, which instead of being aimed at Basil and Dawson, flies toward the axe, cutting off the head. The blade falls lengthwise, slicing through the ropes and trap, freeing them. The anvil falls seconds later, crushing the axe head, but missing them both. The force of the anvil hitting the ground rattles Olivia's bottle, loosening the cork and sending her sailing through the air. As Dawson leans heavily against the anvil, Basil sheds his sailor costume and puts on his deerstalker cap. He puts one arm around Dawson and holds the other out in the air.
Thank you, Dawson.
Olivia lands in Basil's open arm, and he brings the two of them close.
Smile, everyone.
The camera goes off.
I get it because we're mice.
Oh, I actually didn't even put that together.
Thought you were supposed to be a detective. The
Don't
camera
worry
goes
about
off, capturing Basil's brilliant smile and Olivia and Dawson's stunned expressions. Meanwhile, at the palace, Ratigan's thugs play trumpets to announce the Queen's entrance. The crowd is fooled by the robot as it steps out.
On this most august occasion, we are gathered here not only to commemorate my 60 years as queen, but to honor one.
Ratigan watches from behind the curtains as Flaversham reads cue cards into the robot speaker at gunpoint.
Flaversham, of truly noble stature, I present to you a statesman among mice, a gifted leader.
A crusader for justice, freedom, and truth, and pronouncing Flaversham correctly.
As the narrator, I will pronounce his name, however I damn well please, thank you. At the same time, the real queen is dragged to the balcony by Fidget.
Over here, fatty. You're a ton tuts. Here, kitty kitty. Time for mouse chow.
Felicia waits below the balcony, jumping excitedly.
A majestic mountain of humility and my new royal consort, Professor Ratigan.
Ratigan bursts out, wearing a crown and purple robe decorated with medals. The crowd gasps in horror. A child blows a raspberry at him, and his mother quickly covers his mouth. Outside, Basil, Olivia, and Dawson are now back at the waterfront. Basil whistles and Toby comes running.
Toby! The game's afoot, Toby. Our queen is in mortal danger. To Buckingham Palace!
Thank you, your majesty. And now, as your new royal consort, I have a few slight suggestions.
He pulls out a roll of paper, which unfurls down the aisle of the grand hall and out the door.
Ahem. Item 1.
Fidget struggles as he carries the kicking queen on his back.
Stop that.
He makes it to the edge of the balcony where Felicia is sitting below, waiting patiently.
Nuts. Open wide. Bye-bye.
Just as Fidget is about to throw the queen over, Basil and the others arrive to grab her. Fidget's momentum from his attempted throw causes him to fall off the balcony. Felicia nearly eats him as he clings to the ledge.
Down, kitty. Down.
The sound of barking distracts Felicia, and she turns to see Toby running straight for her. She screeches and flees with Toby close behind. Inside the Great Hall, Ratigan is continuing down his list.
Item 96. A heavy tax shall be levied against all parasites and sponges, such as the elderly, the infirm, and especially little children.
Ratigan leans upside down over the railing to sneer at the boy from before. He looks at the rat defiantly before his mother whisks him away. An old man with a cast and crutch approaches him angrily.
That's ridiculous! You're insane!
Perhaps I haven't made myself clear. I have the power.
Of course you do, He-Man.
I am supreme.
Only you.
This is my kingdom.
The crowd cowers in Ratigan's shadow as Basil finds the back room where Flaversham, happy now, and the rest of Ratigan's men are stationed.
That is, of course, with your highness's permission.
The robot queen doesn't respond. Ratigan gives it a light slap, making it spring back to life.
Yes,
Sometimes you gotta
I'm
slap
happy
them.
now. Most assuredly, you insidious fiend!
What?
You are not my royal consort!
What a sense of humor.
You're a cheap fraud and imposter!
Flaversham.
Ratigan smiles nervously at the crowd while Basil operates the robot's controls. Olivia and Flaversham embrace as Dawson holds a rope around Ratigan's thugs. The queen has her rope around Fidget and gives it a tight tug. Kinky.
A corrupt, vicious, demented, low-life scoundrel. There's no evil scheme you wouldn't concoct.
Basil jerks at the controls, causing the robot's head to spring up and bite Ratigan's nose. He forces the head back down, but both arms spring out, hitting him in the stomach. Ratigan moves in front of the robot, attempting to hide it from the crowd, but they're not buying his scheme anymore.
No depravity you wouldn't commit!
You, Professor,
Are none other than a foul, stenchous rodentist, commonly known as a...
Don't say it!
Basil bursts out from the curtain and points at his nemesis.
sewer rat!
Ah!
Arrest that fiend!
Basil, Dawson, Flaversham, and the Queen tackle Ratigan as several other mice rush forward to help, while others fight the rest of Ratigan's men. Olivia watches from behind the curtain, not noticing that Fidget has managed to free himself from his ropes. Outside, Felicia is still running from Toby. She darts through the bushes and flower beds before scrambling up a wall where Toby can only leap up halfway and bark at her. Felicia snickers and makes a show of leaping down the other side. Seconds later, another terrified screech followed by the barks of multiple dogs. Felicia's ribbon and fur fly through the air. She jumped into the royal guard dog's kennel. Back inside, Ratigan shakes off his attackers as Fidget whistles at him from a high balcony, holding Olivia.
Got girl! Got girl!
Flaversham turns, horrified as Ratigan jumps from mouse to mouse and grabs a rope to swing himself to the balcony. Basil, Dawson, and Flaversham rush forward, only to freeze as Ratigan holds Olivia threateningly over the edge.
Stay where you are, or the girl dies.
He disappears behind the curtain, taking Olivia with him.
Hurry, Dawson!
He leads Dawson and Flaversham outside and spots Ratigan's airship already in flight.
There he goes!
Basil climbs up a flagpole.
Dawson! Flaversham! Gather up those balloons!
The Union Jack is lowered as balloons are collected from the gate posts. Dark storm clouds gather, and thunder rumbles as Ratigan steers his airship through the skies of London, still leaving the pedaling to Fidget.
Just wait. Basil's smarter than you. He's going to put you in jail. He's not afraid of a big, old, ugly rat like you.
Would you kindly sit down and shut up?
Ratigan turns and sees the British flag flying in front of him. Basil, Dawson, and Flaversham stand on a matchbox with the flag tied around it, holding the balloons under the flag. Ratigan sneers and turns the airship away, putting distance between him and the makeshift air balloon.
Let her go, chaps!
Dawson and Flaversham release air from an open balloon, quickly closing the distance. Ratigan leads them around roofs and chimneys, up and around the statue of Lord Nelson, and towards the tower bridge. Fidget moves the squeaky pedals as fast as he can, but runs out of breath as they pass under the bridge.
We have to lighten the load!
We gotta line the load.
Oh, you both want to lighten the load. Excellent idea.
Fidget snickers at Olivia, but Ratigan seizes the bat by the ears and tosses him over instead.
No, not me. I can't fly. I can't fly.
Fidget flaps his wings desperately as he plummets into the Thames. Ratigan jumps onto the pedal mechanism and begins propelling the airship again. However, Basil and the others have finally caught up, and the detective is preparing to jump.
Steady!
Basil leaps and catches the tail of the aircraft. The two adversaries glare at each other until... Ratigan turns to see he's headed directly for Big Ben.
Ah!
The airship crashes into the glass face of the clock tower. Dawson and Flaversham can only stare from their hot air balloon at the empty airship hanging from the hole as thunder rolls in the distance. Inside Big Ben, Basil awakens, then stares in shock and amazement at the gears and cogs surrounding him. Creeping behind him unnoticed is Ratigan, his left fist poised, ready to knock Basil down, while the other hand is clamped over Olivia's mouth. The little girl struggles and finally pulls Ratigan's hand off her.
Basil, look out!
Basil turns just in time to see Ratigan's hand hitting him. Basil rolls and catches the end of the rotating gear and attempts to pull himself back up as Ratigan prepares to strike again, but Olivia bites his hand.
Ah!
You don't taste very good.
Basil uses the momentary distraction to climb up the gear, seize the professor's cape, and wedge it between two gears. Ratigan drops Olivia and attempts to free his cape, kicking her off the gear in the process. She falls, landing between the teeth of a vertical gear that begins carrying her upwards towards another that threatens to crush her. Thinking quickly, Basil jumps onto a lever, which causes a spool of metal chains to begin moving. He grabs a link and is able to grab Olivia just before she is flattened. The two smile at each other as the chain continues lifting them toward the top of the tower. Down below, Ratigan watches furiously as the pair make their escape, and something in him snaps. His eyes go bloodshot. With a burst of strength, he tears his cape, freeing himself. Basil and Olivia stop at a hole at the top of the tower, trapped. Ratigan scampers up the gears toward them, completely consumed by hatred. The suave, egotistical gentleman is now rabid. Outside, Dawson and Flaversham approach on their air balloon. Basil holds Olivia out to them, while Dawson holds Flaversham by his apron as the toy maker leans towards his daughter.
Closer, Dawson. Closer.
Daddy, I can't reach. I can't reach.
Basil turns just before Ratigan tackles him. Olivia is tossed into the air and caught by Flaversham as the two geniuses roll down the side of Big Ben, eventually landing on the hour hand, which is preparing to strike 10. Ratigan is nowhere in sight as the others float down to Basil.
Basil, over here.
The detective is barely able to take a step toward his friends before Ratigan attacks from behind, lifting him up with one arm. Basil manages to wriggle free and runs up the clock hand, but with frightening speed and agility, Ratigan leaps over him and blocks his path.
There's no escape this time, Basil.
Basil slides down the hand, but Ratigan cuts him off again and then slashes the detective with razor-sharp claws. Before Basil can stand, Ratigan strikes several more times, tattering Basil's coat and scratching his face as he's forced back toward the edge of the hour hand. With another powerful blow, Basil is knocked over the edge and clings to the tip of the hand as Ratigan looks down on him with murderous intent. The Westminster chimes begin to sound, and Basil looks up at the clock tower face to see that it is 9:59. Lightning strikes as Ratigan rears back and strikes Basil, sending him plummeting. Dawson and Olivia both try to grab him, but miss. Ratigan looks stunned for a moment before a cruel smile spreads across his face.
I won!
On the contrary!
Ratigan looks down and sees Basil holding onto the frame of the airship's propeller mechanism, which is still protruding from the side of the tower. He holds himself up with one hand and holds a small gold bell in the other.
The game's not over yet.
Basil rings the bell and Ratigan checks his empty pocket. A moment later, the clock strikes 10 and Big Ben's bells ring loudly. The vibrations cause Ratigan to lose his balance, and he teeters over the edge and falls. As he descends, Ratigan makes one final grab at Basil, catching him by his jacket. Basil keeps his grip on the propeller mechanism, but the force of Ratigan's pull causes it to break off from the ship. Olivia, Dawson, and Flaversham are helpless, as both Ratigan disappear into the fog, followed by Basil. The three watch for a moment as Ratigan's screams fade, leaving only the sound of wind and chiming bells. Olivia turns to her father and begins to sob, but she stops when she hears a squeaking noise. She leans back over the edge of the air balloon and sees Basil slowly ascending as he pedals the propeller mechanism with all his might.
Ho, ho, hooray!
Hooray, it's Basil!
Good fellow, jolly good.
The rain subsides and the moon comes out as the four friends float together beside Big Ben. On Monday, June 21st, 1897, the London Mouse newspaper's front page headline reads, "Queen Honors Detective," with a picture of Basil and Dawson both kneeling before the Queen as she knights them. The two subheadings are "Queen Praises Detective Basil, Medal to be Given," and "Time Runs Out for Ratigan." Dawson admires a framed copy of the front page in Basil's flat, with Olivia and Flaversham nearby.
To be thanked by the Queen herself. Oh, how thrilling, Basil.
Basil smiles as he places Ratigan's bell on the mantel of his fireplace.
All in a day's work, Doctor.
Oh, Dr. Dawson, you were wonderful.
Stop.
Indeed. Oh my, we're late to catch our train. Come along, Olivia.
Yes, Father.
Olivia embraces the mouse who saved her life, as well as her father's.
Goodbye, Basil. I'll never forget you.
Nor I you, Miss. Miss Fuhuwugards.
Olivia stares for a moment, then shakes her head with a smile.
Whatever.
Goodbye, Dr. Dawson.
Goodbye, my dear.
Olivia walks to the front door and turns toward them again.
Goodbye.
She shuts the door behind herself as she leaves.
Well, not a bad little girl, actually.
Not at all. Well, it's time I was on my way too.
But I thought...
The case is over. Perhaps it's best I find my own living quarters.
Oh, but...
A knock at the door interrupts them.
Oh, now who could that be?
Dawson opens the door to reveal a lady mouse.
Is this the home of the famous Basil of Baker Street?
Well, indeed it is, miss. You seem to be troubled.
Oh, I am.
Then you've come precisely to the right place.
Allow me to introduce my trusted associate, and perhaps maybe more, Dr. Dawson, with whom I do all my cases. Isn't that right, Doctor?
What? Oh, my Basil. I mean, yes, by all means.
The two shake hands, and the sentimental moment lingers for a bit before Basil speaks again.
As you can see, Dawson, this young lady has just arrived from the Hampstead district and is troubled about the disappearance of an emerald ring missing from the third finger of her right hand. Now, tell me your story and pray, be precise.
Outside the window, Toby listens in, nodding along with Basil's deduction as the human occupant of the flat above plays his violin.
And from that day on, Basil and I were a close team. And over the years, we had many cases together. But I shall always look back on that first with the most fondness. My introduction to Basil of Baker Street, the great mouse detective.
Thank you for listening to our radio drama presentation of The Great Mouse Detective, a movie that surprisingly had more gay undertones than we originally thought. Basil was played by Cam Griffin. Dawson was played by Lealin Queen. Ratigan was played by Hayes Converse. Fidget, Flaversham, Watson, and Thug 1 were played by Mary Rivette. Miss Kitty, the singer of Let Me Be Good to You, Queen, including Robot Queen, Mrs. Judson, Bartholomew, Lowlife, Old Man, and Thug 2 were played by Kailey Reyes. Olivia, the singing thug from World's Greatest Criminal Mind, Holmes, Barmaid, Lady, and Thug 3 were played by Joel Guttman. Narration was done by me, Taylor Starnes. Script adaptation was done by Joel Guttman, and audio engineering was provided by John H. Baker. We are pleased to announce that on Saturday, September 25th, we will be doing a RaDEEo drama presentation of The Addams Family. The performance will begin at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Central Time. For more nerdy content, please follow Digital Era Entertainment here on Twitch, and you can listen to our past radio drama performances on Digital Era Entertainment's YouTube channel. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us across social media for updates. Thanks for watching!